national sovereignty. Those who advocate a borderless nation, I don't think they quite realize it all the time, and they may not approach it from this standpoint, but whether they know it or not, they're advocating Agenda 21's global community. You're not a nation, a sovereign nation without borders, period. I talked about the UN a little bit. We need to uphold the immigration laws. I like Alan Key's answer when someone would say, well, what about immigration? Put the microphone in his face. He said simple 3 words: enforce the law. That was his answer on it. And I think if he went further, he would say if the law is so convoluted and messed up it can't be enforced, then fix it. That's the job of Congress, is to enforce this law. And the President of the United States' prime directive is to uphold the Constitution. Our border situation by itself, all other arguments removed, that one situation is plenty to impeach President Obama right now. And it was plenty to impeach George Bush as well. Got to be fair here. But sovereignty is a very core problem that I see. Because we think of sovereignty in the political arena, especially on the local level. I dealt with one guy who was just scared to death of the sovereign citizen movement. There's an actual movement of sorts up north toward the Minnesota area where these people are, they call themselves sovereign citizens. They have a little bit funky application of the word sovereignty, and they go in, they basically steal property away from people, using the law, rewriting, registering their own deed with the Register of Deeds, and walking away legal owner of somebody else's property. It's using the system turning the system against itself. That's not sovereignty. If you've never heard of Abraham Kuyper, I want to invite you to check him out. He was a neo-Calvinist minister. I can't remember what time period he lived in, but he came up with this thing called sphere sovereignty. If you look up Kuyper, Kuyper, sphere sovereignty model, you'll see where he took sovereignty, and he has a little circle, kind of a wheel. And first of all, his main point is that all sovereignty is derived from God, not government, not a collective, from God. God's sovereignty overlaps all, and he grants sovereignty to all. And he divided up sovereignty into a few groups: church, family, government, commerce, arts and science. Can you imagine science without any government interference? Then it would be science. Take the government funding out of it, take the government manipulation and control out of it. You got to watch the corporate controls and funding can be just as nefarious sometimes. But if it operated as its own sovereign sphere, science and art, science would actually produce something again. And then the individual. The government's just one sphere. It has its own jurisdiction. When government comes into the church and tries to tell the pastor what to preach, and if he doesn't preach it right, then they're going to lose their 501(c)(3) stat. Government's operating outside of its proper authority, its proper jurisdiction. It has no jurisdiction to regulate matters of conscience and matters of the church, matters of religion. But on immigration, I have this little conspiracy theory that I've been hoping is wrong, and I've challenged anybody who can prove me wrong to please do so. My little conspiracy theory is very simple, very short. It's this: I believe that the reason immigration is not being enforced isn't so much that nobody can, it's because they don't want to. And here's why they don't want to. Going back to the numbers again, you got 70 million baby boomers retiring, going on to Social Security, going on to Medicare, Medicaid, all the various entitlements that kick in around then. Some death benefits kick in as spouses pass. And you have 60 million that have been taken out of the system through abortion, from a woman's right to choose. That's a bad way to run a Ponzi scheme, man. Eventually we're going to get, if we haven't reached that point, depending on which talking head and expert you listen to, we may have already reached this point in some cases, But eventually we will reach the point where there are more drawing out of the system than putting into it. And that secure lockbox where your Social Security money's been dumped all your working life is gone. They rated that years ago. It's gone. And so, where are we going to get this money? That's why I say immigration is more a solution to their created problem with these social entitlements in conjunction with, so we have more people drawing than paying into the system. We have to replace the people we killed through abortions with somebody, so let's bring in about 30 or 40 million immigrants. It's my conspiracy theory. Like I say, if I'm wrong, I'd love to hear it. I'd like to be. I don't like when I'm right on those things.
This message is paid for, produced by me, David Waddell. I approve this message.